Have you ever been curious what happens in a session with me? Maybe you've been thinking about booking in, but a bit scared. So there's a number of things, and each client session is different. Every client is different, and what they present with on any given day is different. So I never really know until the person is in front of me what we're going to do and how the session is going to go. And I have a number of options. But the first thing I do is listen. I really listen. I listen for the language. I listen for the what's going on physically. And I listen for what's going on internally for the client that's in front of me in that moment. And then we go with where the flow takes us. So I'm Angela Farlam. I'm an NLP trainer. I'm a hypnotist, and I'm a life coach. And so I work with people from all walks of life who present with all sorts of things, particularly with any stress and anxiety, whether it's in the personal or the business life. So, for example, my client yesterday, she has been having sessions for an addiction that she'd had. And she's made lots of changes, and she's looking forward now in lots of new ways. But there was one part that was still a little bit anxious about moving forward. And so what we did, because she came up with this idea that she's ready for the future, but there's still a little bit of something. And we were working on that little bit of something because she wasn't consciously aware of what that little bit of something is. So we did something called timeline, but we did it spatially on the floor, where we set up a space from where she is now. And she chose to go 2 years ahead, having made the changes. And so that she moved 2 years ahead, having made the changes, to see what she sees now, what she feels, what she hears, that lets her know that she's made those changes. And we took her further into the future, into the consequences of making those changes. And she actually burst into tears. And at that moment, she wasn't sure why she was crying. We moved off the timeline, and she had a sense of initially, she said, relief. But when she sat down, she felt something deeper, more like a sadness, but she wasn't sure. So what we did at that point is I set up messages with her unconscious mind, which might sound a bit silly, but we actually utilize something called Swan. And you can Google Swan. I did a course with a guy called Bob Burns, who's from Scotland, who developed the Swan. And it's a way of communicating with the unconscious. And through the unconscious, we set up some signals. And I set up a conversation with her unconscious to discover what was going on at an unconscious level. And her unconscious at this time didn't want her conscious mind to know, but was willing to work with me. And so I had her go inside. I had this part work with her creative mind to come up with new ways of thinking, of being, of doing things that satisfies the positive intention behind this sense of these tears, whilst allowing her the freedom to move forward without her having to consciously know. And when that work was done, I had the unconscious give me that signal that whatever it needed doing was doing, even though she had no idea what was going on at a conscious level. She was awake, and she could see the fingers moving. She had the conscious awareness, but the work was happening at an unconscious level. And then I asked, before we finish, is there anything else that we can work with today? And there was something else. And I asked, is there something that my client can be consciously aware of? And it was. And so we did some more work. And after we did this, I communicated. Obviously, I was communicating with my client all along, and she knew what this thing was, and she was able to get some sense of relief from this and get some clarity moving forward. And then I continued with an eyes closed process to do some more release and to be able to connect with the resources that she's got, the strength, the resilience, the confidence, the motivation to move forward with the goal that she has moving forward in a way that's going to be conducive to her health and well-being. Now, she felt great. She actually felt still a little bit sad but with a sense of relief at the end. And I said the tears might still come as she's releasing what's been held in there for a long time, but that by the time she wakes up in the morning, that she's going to feel wonderfully refreshed and lighter than she's felt in a long time, and eager to move forward. And I'll find out next time we speak, you know, how she's going and moving forward. But it's amazing how change happens quickly when we change what we're doing on the inside. So if you've been sitting on the fence, wanting to have some clarity, if you're looking at help, whether it's help with wanting to give up smoking or chocolate, or whether you've got a business presentation to do and you're just really frightened of public speaking, all of these things I can help you with. But you first need to speak to me, to reach out, so that we can have a conversation, and I can give you an experience of what it's like working with me before you have to commit to any session, any program. And it's only after we've connected and I've got an idea of you and working with you and giving you an example of working with me, it's only then, if I feel confident that how I work can help you, will I suggest the next step forward. So if this is something you've been curious about, just reach out, book in a session, book in a discovery session. Now I'll put the link in below where you can just book in. It's all automated. You book in a time that's suitable for you, you'll get an email, you get a link to the Zoom room, and we just connect like this online. And if you live locally and you'd like to work face-to-face, we can do that also. But it's very easy to work online because once your eyes are closed, it's all the same process. If you've any questions, just reach out, send me a direct message, text message, an email, and let's connect. Other than that, just book in now. And I look forward to seeing you. Until then.